Now, revered Swami Nityasthananji Maharaj is going to address us all. Swamiji, we are very much thankful to you for kindly accepting our invitation. Presently, Swamiji is the head of Ramakrishna Mission Ashrama, Davanagere in Karnataka. Revered Swamiji is an erudite scholar and a good writer. He has authored many books in Kannada and translated many books from English to Kannada. He has a special grounding in Indian philosophy and Western philosophy and Western psychology. Swamiji, we all request you to kindly address us all and bless us.
Om Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmaswarupine avatara varisthaya Ramakrishnaya te namaha. Dear friends, now we shall do some reflection on Sankalpa. What is Sankalpa? Sankalpa, the word Sankalpa is used in two senses. One is the Sankalpa and Vikalpa as a nature of the mind. In our Shastras, scriptures, it is said, nature of the mind consists of two things. One is Sankalpa and Vikalpa. Sankalpa Vikalpatmakam Manaha. That's what scripture says. So that means the nature of the mind is do Sankalpa and Vikalpa. What is Sankalpa and Vikalpa? In minds there are so many different imaginations and come and go. Some are very good, noble, some are very bad. That means both the imaginations are there in the mind. Good imaginations, noble imaginations, wholesome imaginations are considered to be Sankalpa. The bad imaginations, evil imaginations are considered to be the Vikalpa. So the mind consists of these two things. But here in this context, the word Sankalpa is used in a different sense altogether. Here in this context, Sankalpa means taking resolutions, resolve to do certain things, accomplish certain things, achieve certain things that is noble, higher, of higher values. So that is Sankalpa, resolve to do certain things. That is Sankalpa. The Sankalpa Yajna. This particular program is called Sankalpa Yajna. What is this Sankalpa Yajna? Now, first of all, you have to think, what is Yajna? Yajna means sacrifice. Normally it is translated into English. Sacrifice. Sacrifice means sacrificing something, offering something, giving up something. So that is sacrifice. For example, there are different kinds of sacrifices are there. The Seva Yajna is there, Dravya Yajna is there, Jnana Yajna is there, Swadhyaya Yajna is there. Then there are Vedic sacrifices are there, oblations, offering oblations to the fire. There is also Yajna, Yaga and all that. So many different kinds of Yajnas are there. Normally, what we think Yajna is Vedic sacrifices. Vedic sacrifices means offering oblations to the fire addressed to different gods and goddesses. So that is Vedic sacrifices. In Yajna means offering something, give away something. So for example, in earlier times also, during the Yajna, they offer oblations to the fire, addressed to different gods and goddesses. At the same time, they give away in charity so many things belonging to them. Maybe it is there's some kind of different things, material things, money, the cows, etc., they used to give to different categories of the different sections of the people in the society. So that is offering, giving something, that is yajna. Here also in the different kinds of yajnas, for example, seva yajna is there. Seva yajna means helping others, the financially or medically or different ways helping others, the materially, etc. So that means it is also sacrifice, giving away something. So everywhere yajna means it is sacrifice, offering something, offering our own things to others for the good of the society or for the sake of God. So that is yajna. For example, here the sankalpa yajna, this very new concept altogether, sankalpa yajna. So we have to take vow to do certain things, spiritual things here during a particular period. So that means here also, in this yajna also, you are offering yourself to this yajna, taking some sankalpa. So your own time you are offering, sacrificing, your own ideas, your own mind, your own emotions, feelings, you are sacrificing here to accomplish this one. So that means you are offering yourself to this yajna, sankalpa yajna. So that is why it is called sankalpa yajna. Sankalpa has got a tremendous power. That's what Swamiji says, Swami Vivekananda says. Swami Vivekananda speaks very highly of this sankalpa. In fact, in our scriptures it is said, whole universe emerged out of this sankalpa. Srishti sankalpa, it is called Srishti sankalpa. In the Upanishads we read, Sa ikshata bahusyam prajayeya. That means he thought, he resolved, let me become many, let me manifest myself in the different forms. So he resolved like that. And out of this resolve, the sankalpa, the whole universe has emerged. Just see the power of sankalpa. That's why Swami Vivekananda speaks very highly of this sankalpa, the power of sankalpa, willpower. I will quote one passage from Swami Vivekananda. All the actions that we see in the world, all the movements in human society, all the works that we have around us are simply the display of thought, the manifestation of the will of man. Machines or instruments, cities, ships or men of war, all these are simply the manifestation of the will of man. The men of mighty will the world has produced have all been tremendous workers, gigantic souls with will powerful enough to overturn the whole world. The will they got by persistent work through ages and ages. So that is how they developed this willpower. Because of the tremendous willpower, they were able to accomplish so many things in this world, great things in this world, in the different fields of our activities and endeavors. So that is how the power of the will, Swami Vivekananda speaks very highly of it. But what happens in our ordinary people, our will is not identified at all, because it is one with the different kinds of desires. It's entwined with the different kinds of desires. It's not possible to see our own will separately from the desires. Whatever the desire arises in our mind, the will also goes along with that. So when one particular desire arises, I decide to fulfill that desire, accomplish that desire. I have that particular object of desire. So that is the will always goes along with the desires. It is closely intertwined with the desires. We are not able to see the willpower separately from the desires. So that means in ordinary people, what is will? Will is nothing but a strong desire that arises in his mind. The strong desire itself, it takes the form of the will. Now what we have to do is, we have to extricate the will from the clutches of the desires. Then only we will be able to see that there is a willpower in us. Whenever some kind of desire arises, we have to say no to it. Sometimes, the desire says not to do certain things. With the willpower, we have to do it. Sometimes the desire says to do not to do certain things, we have to do it with the willpower. Desire says to do certain things, we have to do it with the applying the will. So in that way, we have to see the will separately from the desires that prompts us to do certain things or not to do certain things. So that is why then only we will be able to control our desires. When the will is extricated from the desires, free from the desires, then only it is possible to control the desires applying this willpower. So that means will must be free from the desires. We have to control the desires, our emotions, negative emotions, so many different kinds of temptations that is presented before us. We have to control them. How to control it? Unless we have got a strong willpower, especially during the modern times. So that is why you have to develop the willpower like that. So that for that, to control the desires, to control the strong emotions that is presented before us, the will also must be firmly anchored in certain higher values or higher ideals. Then only it is possible, holding on to that ideal, it is possible to control the desires and emotions, negative emotions. So that is why, what is this higher ideal? So that means will, when the will is extricated from the desires, free from the desires, then what happens? Will get enlightened by the inner consciousness, spiritual consciousness, the spiritual self within us. It gets enlightened, it is powered by that, it is influenced by that. Then it becomes very strong, very strong. Then only it is possible to control the desires. That means when the will is coupled with higher ideal, it is called sankalpa. It is called sankalpa. Then it becomes very strong willpower, strong sankalpa. So otherwise, you will not be able to control the desires. And what happens, if the will is not fully established in ideals, anchored in the ideals, higher ideals, if you try to control the desires, what happens? The will also get drowned in the river of the desires, in the current of the desires. It is something like, when you have to save a person, drowning person in the water, in the river or something, we have to strongly, firmly stand on the ground, holding on to some kind of a pillar or tree or some rope or something like that, then only it is possible to save him. Otherwise, we will also get drowned along with him in the water. So that is why, similarly, the will also must be strongly anchored in a higher ideal, spiritual ideal, moral ideal. So that is why that kind of the will that is charged by the spiritual ideal is called the sankalpa. In Bhagavad Gita, it is called Vyavasayatmaka Buddhi. Vyavasayatmaka Buddhi. Sri Krishna says in the 2nd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Vyavasayatmaka Buddhi Ekeha Kurunandana Bhushaka Hyanantascha Buddhayo Avyavasayanam. So this buddhi is the will. Buddhi is the will. Vyavasayatmaka Buddhi. Vyavasayatmaka Buddhi means well-cultivated intelligence, enlightened intelligence. It is always one-pointed. It always moves towards the higher idea. It will never get deflated with the different kinds of desires and temptations and all such things. That is all well-cultivated, well-disciplined intelligence, buddhi. That is Vyavasayatmaka Buddhi. Then there is another Avyavasayatmaka Buddhi. What is that? Bahushakayanantascha. Sri Krishna says it has got different, it is branched out to different ways, different direction because of the different kinds of desires. It is ananta, it is infinite because desires are infinite. That is why what happens, the will in ordinary people, because of this so many desires and temptations and negative emotions and all that, because of that, it becomes diluted, deflated. So that is why we don't get the willpower, strong willpower at all to accomplish certain things. So that means it is something like, to give a crude example, the river is there, it starts from its source and moves towards the ocean to join with the ocean. But what happens in between? So many diversions are taken place. Sometimes in some places they take through the channels, it is diverted in a different direction for different purposes. Through check dams they will divert the water in a different direction for different purposes. They build a huge dam for producing electricity and all, for irrigation, etc. In this way, all the waters of the river are taken away for different purposes. And by the time it reaches the ocean, very little water, practically no water remains in the river. This is what it happens. So this is why in the same manner, the will also is get diluted, it get deflected in a different direction. That is why we don't get the strong will to do certain things, accomplish certain things that is higher. So now, we shall come to another point related to this, that is three faculties of the mind. That are very important faculties of the mind. One is thinking faculty, another is feeling, another is willing. In the Sanskrit it is called Alochana Shakti. Thinking faculty is called Alochana Shakti. The feeling or emotion is called Bhavana Shakti. And another is Ichha Shakti, that willing faculty, will, that is Ichha Shakti. Now what is this Alochana Shakti or thinking faculty? There are so many thoughts coming, always arising, always in our mind. When we see a particular person or an object, or think of a particular object or something, immediately so many thoughts related to that object or person or that event arises in our mind. So many thoughts, different kinds of thoughts, whether it is good or bad, whatever it may be, so many thoughts arises. Continuously, mind is always thinking like this, continuously. This haphazard way of thinking, must be channelized properly. Must be channelized properly. So that is what is required, sublimation of this thinking faculty. So that means when we have to take up a particular thing and go on thinking about that and organizing those ideas, and with concentration we have to channelize all our thoughts in that direction only. It is called conceptualization in English. When you do that, our thoughts get reduced, completely related to one another, fully organized. That is how different books are produced, that is how different kinds of articles are produced, different, how many accomplished scientific also, so many things are discovered and all that, because of this organization of these thoughts. We have to organize these thoughts properly, then only channelize it properly, then it is possible to accomplish certain things. So then there is another faculty is called Bhavana Shakti. Bhavana Shakti means there are different kinds of feelings are there, emotions are there. Some are positive, some are negative. For example, love, compassion, and happiness. All these things, these are all positive emotions. There are negative emotions are there, like that, like hatred, jealousy, worry, fear, and all such things. These are all negative emotions. So these negative emotions are to be converted into positive emotions. Same energy. Energy is the same. It is only a conservation of energy, transformation of energy. That you have to do. Then only it is possible to do. Because to accomplish certain things in any field of our activities, endeavor, emotion must be there. Emotion must be associated with that. Then only it is possible to accomplish certain things. Unless there is a strong emotion behind it, powered by the emotion, it is not possible to do certain things. It is something like, to give you an example, the vehicle is there, the body of the vehicle is very good, and the engine also is a perfect. Driver also is accomplished one, expert. And in spite of all these things, the vehicle cannot move unless petrol is there. Without a petrol, vehicle cannot move. So emotion is like a petrol to our vehicle. Then we will be able to do certain things. For example, do even evil things also. So I must be bubbling with the hatred or anger, that is negative emotions. Then only I will be able to do killing or killing somebody or something, doing something evil. That is how this, the terrorists, they have got tremendous power of emotion. That is why they are able to do so many violence activities. Similarly, we have to be powered by the positive emotions like that. The love, understanding, the compassion, all such things, enthusiasm to do certain things. With the help of the ideal, higher ideal, then only you will be able to accomplish certain things in life. So that is how the emotion is very powerful. It must be refined. It must be refined. And another faculty is the willing faculty. Ichha Shakti. Ichha Shakti is one through the help of which we will be able to control both the Alochana Shakti and Bhavana Shakti and channelize it in higher direction. So Ichha Shakti you must be able to develop, fully develop. So through the Ichha Shakti, when you are able to control all our mental energy and channelize it properly, then you develop a wonderful, excellent power. What is that excellent power? So that is Charitra Shakti. Charitra Shakti. When all our mental energies are controlled and directed in a higher direction, channelize it in a higher direction, then we develop a tremendous character. Swami Vivekananda says, it is the character that cleaves its way through the adamantine walls of difficulties. When that character is there, character excellence is there, power of character is there, you will be able to face any kind of problems, any kind of difficulties, be able to get through it. So that is how the character is to be developed. That's what Swami Vivekananda says. So to develop that strong character, you must have this willpower. Now, in relation with this topic, we have to highlight on another point also. So that is that is about the Kriya Yoga referred in a Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Patanjali says in one of his sutras, tapas swadhyaya ishvara pranidhanani kriya yoga. That sutra says like this. Kriya yoga consists of three things. One is tapas, another is swadhyaya, another is ishvara pranidhana. The tapas is meant for disciplining the willpower, strengthening the willpower. Tapas is meant for that. Tapas means austerity. Normally tapas means we think of going to Himalayas or forest or residing in a particular cave or doing certain things. In the Puranas also, mythology, we also read so many rishis and even demons also doing tapasya for hundreds and hundreds of years. We read about that. But here, tapasya does not mean that. It is not a mortification of the body. Tapasya means here taking a vow to do certain things, vrata. It's called vrata. In Sanskrit, it's called vrata, doing certain vratas. We take a sankalpa, we make a sankalpa of doing certain things. For example, some people, take a sankalpa of fasting for one day. Whole day they will not take anything solid, only liquid only they take. Water only they take. Like that, they fast for whole day. Some people take the vow of fasting for a month or something like that. Or some people will take the vow of taking one meal for whole month. Like that they will take a sankalpa, make a sankalpa and do the thing. This is called tapas. For example, there is different kinds of tapas also. Okay. For example, some people take a vow to do 10,000 japa in a day. So they will make time for that and go on doing the japa. Before completing the 10,000 japa, they will not go to the bed at all. This is tapas. So like the different kinds of tapas they do. Tapas means actually what we are habituated to do certain things, not to do it. Opposite of it, doing the opposite of it. So like that, for example, there are some people out there who are very talkative. Go on talking always, chatterbox. They say, they will go on talking and talking. They are not able to control their speech at all. They will make a sankalpa to not to talk at all for a whole day or a week or a month or something like that. So they stop talking. They observe mauna, silence. So that is how these different kinds of tapas are there. I will narrate one funny story related to this. The four friends, they took a vow not to talk at all, for a whole day. What did they do? They sit around the lamp. There are a candle, lighted candle, and sit around it and started doing the meditation, and without exchanging any words at all. They take not to exchange any words, not to open our mouth at all. They took that vow, sankalpa. So what happened in between, the candle blown off. Then one fellow said, "Oh, see, the candle is not burning anymore." The second person said, "Oh, it is you blown it away." He complained like that. He said like that. And the third one said, "What you fellow are doing? You have taken a vow not to talk and you are talking like this." And the fourth one said, "See, I am the only person who did not open my mouth." This is how they do like that. Talking is such a great temptation. Only when we stop talking only, then we will understand what a great temptation it is. So that is how this happens. So there is a different kinds of tapas are there. As I told you earlier, we are habituated to do certain things. Doing it just otherwise, opposite of it. Stop it for some time. That is tapasya. So now so much about tapasya. Now we shall take another one, the swadhyaya. Tapas, swadhyaya. Swadhyaya is meant for, tapas is meant for disciplining strengthening the will. And the swadhyaya is meant for disciplining the alochana shakti, that is thinking faculty. So here in swadhyaya means you take up a certain subject and systematically, in an organized way, you try to study it, understand it. That is how you channelize your thinking faculty, alochana faculty. So that is how you channelize it, organize your thought, and in that particular subject only you may make the mind move in that direction only. So it is how you are able to discipline the alochana shakti. See, another is there, the Ishvara Pranidhana. Tapas, Swadhyaya, Ishvara Pranidhana. Ishvara Pranidhana means devotion to God, having a great faith in God, offering ourselves to God, surrendering ourselves to God. This is Ishvara Pranidhana. Through this, what happens? Our Bhavana Shakti get refined, sublimated. Bhavana Shakti gets sublimated. Because Bhavana Shakti get a higher direction towards higher spiritual idea. So in that way, it get refined and it get sublimated. So these are the tapas, swadhyaya and Ishvara Pranidhana. These are the three things meant for disciplining these important faculties of the mind. Now you are also in this Sankalpa Yajna, you are applying all these things in your during this period of tapasya. For example, there meditation is there. Through the meditation, what happens? You are doing tapasya. There is a study is there. Through the study, you are able to discipline the vichara shakti, alochana shakti. So there is a bhajans are there, prayer is there, so many things are there related to the devotion, the bhakti. So through the bhakti, through the devotional activities, you are able to refine or sublimate the emotional faculties of the mind, bhavana shakti. So that is how all these things are meant for refining our own mental powers and channelizing it, making it more and more concentrated to accomplish certain higher things. So this is how this Sankalpa Yajna is meant for. Now, how to strengthen this willpower? How to strengthen this willpower? So that is also very important point to be noted. To strengthen our willpower, the Sankalpa Shakti, we have to apply this will in even small things also. When you go on applying this will to even the small things, to accomplish certain things, certain work. For example, I firmly resolve to do this particular work. For example, even a small things, for example, sweeping the floor. So I will sweep the floor with full attention and clean the floor thoroughly. You take a resolve like this, then you will do it, and you will be able to do it very perfectly. Even small things also, for example, writing certain things. I will write this article or something, this sentence without any mistakes. You take a resolve like that, and your mind is fully concentrated there, then you will be able to write it properly. So that is why when you have apply this kind of this will like this, in the small things also, gradually your willpower gets strengthened. You will be able to do this certain things, greater things. For example, our meditative life, real, sincere meditative life, serious meditative life, what is important, required is the controlling of all the thoughts, different kinds of thoughts, haphazard thoughts, haphazardly going different directions. It is not very easy to control them, bring them all together, focusing on the object of meditation. It is not that easy. It requires a tremendous willpower. So that you have to conserve our energy, willpower. So that is why in smaller things also you have to apply this one. For example, when you are sitting for a study, you are reading a particular book related to a particular subject. Then you have to, alochana shakti also must be there. You have to think of that particular subject only, not allowing other thoughts to interfere in between. And you must develop a great love for that particular subject that you are studying. So there must be some kind of strong interest must be there. Then only you will be able to concentrate your mind on that. So similarly, you have to apply your will also. You have to sit for study, applying your will. 1 hour I will study this and understand fully, thoroughly. Then only I will take up certain other things. I will divert my mind to other things. Like that you resolve and sit, you will see your quality of study will improve. So similarly in the field of the meditation or japa, if you take a resolve, concentrate my mind and not to think of other things. Only I am doing japa, I will do japa only, nothing else. In that way, if you resolve and sit, your quality of japa will improve, quality of meditation will improve. So that is how what you have to do, applying the will in different fields of activities. Then only it becomes more and more strong. Then we will be able to accomplish greater things in life. So that is how we have to strengthen our will, discipline our will. And what happens, sometimes we take a resolve to do certain things and we fail. So when we go on failing like this, our inclination to take a resolve, that itself we lose. So that means failure is quite natural. You will not be able to do that. So many different kinds of hindrances will be there, disturbances will be there, so many things will be there because of so many things, different activities, so that unforeseen things may happen. You will not be able to accomplish the resolved things. So it happens like that. But you should not lose patience. The patience is very important here. Patience, you must have tremendous, infinite patience to accomplish certain things. Even if you fail also, then we have to raise ourselves and run further, move further. So that's what you have to do. So that is why patience is, if you lose patience, without any patience, if you do certain things, if you become very restless, then you will not be able to do anything. Some people are very restless, accomplish immediately, tomorrow itself it must happen. They don't have the patience to wait at all. Nowadays, it is an instant age. Everything must happen instantly. Samadhi also must happen instantly. Meditation also must happen instantly. All the powers, spiritual powers must come immediately, now itself. They don't have the patience to wait, do certain things, sadhana for a long time. So that won't do. You will be able to do certain things like this. So that is why patience is very required. So one very funny, very interesting story is there. One devotee went to the spiritual master and asked him, if I start doing sadhana, spiritual practice now, how long it takes for me to realize the goal? And the teacher coolly said, perhaps 10 years it may take. When the devotee said, 10 years, how long? How is it possible? It takes so much, so long to accomplish, realize this goal. Then the teacher said, perhaps in your case it may take 20 years. And the disciple was completely crestfallen. And how is that possible? 20 years, how is it possible to do so for sadhana for 20 years? It's not possible at all. Then again teacher said, I think in your case it may take even 30 years or more, he said. And the devotee completely collapsed. He lost interest in it. Then the teacher called him near and told him, consoled him, see, unless you have an infinite patience, you cannot accomplish anything. You must be able to do things for any length of time. For example, some people may get the realization within a year itself, within a month itself. Some people it may take 10 years, 30 years, 100 years, even one life itself, many lives itself. Still, we must be able to pay any price for it. That's what Swami Yatishwarananda says, because the spiritual goal is so high, so noble, there is nothing compared to that, nothing higher than that. So one must be able to give any price for that, to accomplish that one, to achieve that one, get that one. So that is what is important. So that means one must have infinite patience. Infinite patience. What is it? What is it? Intense aspiration coupled with infinite patience. That is what is required in spiritual life. In anything actually, in any field actually, to do really something great. So that is what required. So another point to be noted is so, for example, in doing tapasya, one point to be noted, that is following a certain routine. This is also really a tapas. Following a certain routine. You must have a routine, timetable for a day. Fix a timetable for a day according to your own convenience, etc. According to your situations, your activities, etc. In the house or field of your activities and all that. So you have to fix a routine and firmly hold on to that routine without fail. That is how you have to discipline our will. Your sankalpa shakti will increase like this. That is how. So I will narrate one particular story and complete this talk. The benefit of this following a particular routine. What a great benefit it has got. There was a devotee who has had the habit of every day, evening 6 o'clock, lighting a lamp before the God and praying to the God. This is how she was doing it for years and years together, without fail, without missing it. One day, unfortunately, what happened, because of the influence of the old friend, because earlier he has associated with so many things, now he has changed his mind and converted to spiritual life. Now, because of the association of the old friend, sometimes what happens when you associate with old friends, all earlier samskaras will rise in our mind, bubbles up in our mind. So what happened when he met a particular friend, then with that friend, friend took him to a particular questionable place. When he was there, at that time particular, he saw the time, it was 6 o'clock. Immediately he remembered, where I am now, what I am doing now. He immediately rushed back to his home and lighted the lamp before the Lord and started praying. Because that routine, he followed for many years, it saved him at that particular critical moment. So that's why this routine is a very important aspect in our life. We have to strictly follow the routine, having a very convenient routine for ourselves according to our own situations. We have to strictly follow it. It will discipline our mind. We will be able to achieve, discipline our willpower and develop our willpower more and more. So with this, wishing you all the best and wishing a success in this Sankalpa Yajna. Wishing you all the best, praying for you. I will complete my speech today. Thank you all. Thank you all. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Rama Krishna Arpanamastu.